and welcome to a very special Google Plus Live Hangout. I'm Shira Lazar from What's Trending, and I'm joined by someone very special today. Some of you might know him as a movie star, an athlete, an action hero, a politician, but he is now an author of the autobiography Total Recall, in stores right now. Arnold Schwarzenegger! Welcome!
Thank you.
Welcome to be here right now. And we have some incredible participants in our Google Plus Live Hangout. Let's go say hi to them right now. We have Adam, Brandon, Kate, Kevin, Rob, Randy, and Tracy. They'll all be asking questions shortly, and we'll be taking questions live from all of you out there. So send us your questions right now. But let's start with you. Thank you so much for doing this. This is so cool.
I like the way you dramatize everything.
You know, I learned a bit from you.
Man, you really know how to sell.
Thank you. Well, you know, we have something in common. We're both immigrants. I'm from Canada, and your story...
You're not that far away.
I have to work hard for that green card.
Canada.
But your story is really such an incredible journey. I feel like you really epitomize the American dream, having come out here, knowing no one, and ending up where you are today. Is this really what this book is all about? Tell us, walk us through what you go through in this book.
What the book is about is an immigrant story. Yeah. It's about, you know, from the time I was born in Austria after the Second World War in 1947, which, you know, Austria and Germany lost the war. We were occupied by the forces by France, England, Russia, and the United States. And, you know, it was a time where everyone was really depressed over there because, you know, Hitler's great vision that he promised to the people is gone. They're losers. Everyone was angry. People were drinking a lot. There was a lot of violence. Kids were beaten all the time for as punishment. There was no dialogue. It was more just, you know, physical action and brutality. And so it was that kind of an upbringing. People always ask me, where did you create your will and that desire to get out of there and to become somebody? And it was, I think, that kind of an upbringing. And it basically takes me from there to winning the Mr. Universe competition with the age of 20, becoming the youngest Mr. Universe, and having big dreams and always having that ability of seeing my dreams very clearly in front of me, having visions, and then going after those visions with hard work.
So you do visualize. You're a person that visualize.
I'm an expert in visualizing. I can see very clearly my goals, and I go after them relentlessly because the visions are so clear in front of me that I believe.
Are you a spiritual person, or it comes from yourself?
Not really. I think it's just for myself. It's just an ability that I have. Everyone has certain talents. That was always mine. That I could see things, see it, believe it, achieve it. That was always.
And you also have some crazy stories in here that you describe. A lot of people might not realize all the little businesses you were part of to make a living. It wasn't just Hollywood.
Well, it was, you know, when I first came over here, I had to realize that I had to work. I was doing cement work. I was doing bricklaying jobs and all of this while I was going to college, while I was going to acting school, and while I was, you know, working out and preparing for the Mr. Olympia and Mr. Universe competition. So for me, there's even a chapter in the book that talks about the day has 24 hours because I utilized the 24 hours 100%. I only slept 6 hours a day and the rest of it was all work, work, work. Driving towards my goal. But it is a book that takes you, after I've achieved this goal of winning 13 world championships in bodybuilding, how I decided that I'm going to be now an actor. But not just an actor with, you know, maybe some roles, but I mean a leading actor. I wanted to be like Warren Beatty was then, or like Charles Bronson or Clint Eastwood. Those were my heroes. And so, of course, everyone in Hollywood laughed. And they said, are you out of your mind? With your accent, no one ever has become a leading man with an accent like that. And then your body, I mean, look at this body. I mean, you weigh, what are you, 250 pounds, and you're like a monster. The new guys today on the block is like Dustin Hoffman and, you know, Woody Allen. Those are the sex symbols today, not someone that like looks like you. So everything was no, 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 and it can't be done. And the name, they said, is hopeless. No one will ever remember that name or be able to announce it, Schwarzen, Schnitzel, or whatever it is. So everyone was always saying no, and I, of course, always heard, yes, 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 you can do it. And I was very positive, and I believed that I could do it. I saw it, and I believed in it. And then later on, when I had made it to the top in the entertainment business, and I made $30 million a movie, and have arrived, and did one action movie after the next, there was a recall election in California, And I was really upset about the way the government was run and the way the state was run and how much overspending was going on and the direction we were going. So I jumped into the race and I said to myself, I think it's time to need someone from the outside the box to go in there and to solve those problems. 2 months later, I became governor of the sixth largest economy in the world. And I was governor of the state of California. So it's a book about that, about, you know, the achievements, but also about the amazement where I had to kind of sit back and say, I can't believe that's happening, that I'm standing there with Nelson Mandela in his prison cells, that he spent so many years of his life, and light the torch of hope for Special Olympics that we were promoting in South Africa, or that I'm having lunch with Mikhail Gorbachev in his institute in Moscow, or that I'm, you know, with all those prime ministers and with presidents, sitting with President Bush, or standing there with President Reagan and being at the White House at state dinners, or running for President Bush, the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports. So there's so much stuff that was going on in my life that I felt like it really would make an interesting story to write about all that, especially after the governorship. I said to myself, now we really have an interesting story to write about. And so this is what the book is about, and also about, not just about the great victories and the accomplishments, but it also is about, you know, the mistakes that I've made in life, and about the losses, about the movies that went in the toilet, and you know, the mistakes I made, you know, in bodybuilding sometimes, and that made me lose competitions, and then also in my personal life, the mistakes that I made. So it talks about the victories and also the defeats, and it talks about all that.
And you're okay with being open about all of that now?
Well, that's me. I mean, you know, I'm a person that has had those victories and had also made the mistakes and had also the defeats. So that's the whole person. That's a book. When you write a book, an autobiography, then you want to write the whole story, right? Because people are interested in the whole story, not just in the good stuff, and leave out the bad stuff.
Definitely. Well, we're going to go to our Google Plus Live Hangout right now because we do have a ton of questions. Let's start with Adam.
Hey, Arnold, pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit before, that you were actually a bricklayer, and you did this with Franco, and a lot of people have a hard time, you know, believing and seeing you as a bricklayer. Do you have any great stories from those days when you were doing construction?
Oh yeah, I mean, we started our bricklaying business because you know, we didn't make enough money from bodybuilding. In bodybuilding, there was no money. Unlike tennis or golf or basketball, football, those sports, the best athletes made a lot of money. We were the best. Franco Colombo was a champion in bodybuilding, and he was the most powerful guy pound for pound in the world. And I was the champion in bodybuilding, but we didn't make any money. So in order to afford the education, to go to Santa Monica City College and to UCLA and all that, and for him to go to chiropractic college, and for us to afford the food supplements and food and apartment, we had to go out and work for a living. And so it was several years. He was a trained bricklayer, Franco, and I was kind of his assistant, and I was mixing cement. And we were very fortunate. In 1971, we put an ad in the paper in the LA Times, and we said, you know, European bricklayers and masonry workers and experts, stone experts, and all this kind of stuff. You know, people love to hear about European experts. You know, they always felt
much more official.
Oh,
yeah.
they just thought we were the experts in everything. But a week later was the earthquake in California. And so, of course, chimneys fell down, and there were cracked walls, and things fell apart. So we got so many offers to go into construction. And I remember, you know, that we were rebuilding chimneys and all that. And there was one incident where Franco, for instance, would climb up on a roof, and he would put his legs against the chimney, and he would press really hard, kind of like a leg press, a 700-pound leg press. And he pressed so hard that the chimney finally fell over. It almost killed the old lady down below.
No.
And she was like, oh my God, how could you do this to me? You know, you almost killed me. And Franco says, be happy that you didn't get killed, because if this would have happened during an earthquake, you would have gotten killed. So we are here to help you. And she said, oh, thank you so much. I want you boys to rebuild my chimney. And so the next day we started building the chimney. We made $5,000 profit on the chimney. We rebuilt the whole thing. And so this is the kind of work that we have done. We have built walls. We have to build chimneys and fireplaces, patios, and all kinds of things.
You're an expert. So if anyone needs help in construction,
oh, I mean, we were the experts. It went on for a few years, but then we obviously made more money in other things.
And real estate,
with the bodybuilding,
right?
and real estate. I started investing in real estate, and and that was like a gold mine. The idea was always that I make enough money so that when I get into the movie business, that I didn't really have to take, terrible roles. Because the natural thing was that people would say, "You're a big guy, why don't you play this bouncer? Or you're a really big guy, I think you should play this football player, or this gangster," or something like that. So this is the kind of role. So I never had to accept those roles. Because as I explained to everybody, I said, I want to be a leading man, and I'm going to go and stay there. And sure enough, by 1975, I was offered one of the 3 leading roles in Stay Hungry with Jeff Bridges and with Sally Fields. And Lucille Ball called me and had me on her TV special, Happy Anniversary and Goodbye, and have do this 7-minute part as the Italian masseur. I was massaging Lucy. It was really fun. And I, all of a sudden it started happening. I started getting a guest starring role in Streets of San Francisco. Then I did The Villain with Kirk Douglas and with Anne Margaret. And bang, all of a sudden there was the contract for Conan the Barbarian with Ed Pressman.
That's it,
and that was it. So from that point on, it took off. And the whole idea of being a leading man, worked extremely well. And I worked my way up that ladder from, $250,000 salary to eventually, $1 million. $2 million, $5 million, all the way up to $30 million.
That's an incredible story.
So
yeah, we're going to go to the next question from Brandon.
Hi, Arnold.
Hi.
Pleasure to be here. I'm an actor as well, and I kind of have a question about just your accomplishments as a whole. And, there's so many people that are incredibly successful in their respective fields, but you've managed to do that in just a multitude of fields. And I was wondering if there were any character traits or idiosyncrasies that maybe we don't know about you that that you would be willing to share with us that you think set you apart and have helped you attain that level of success that you have.
I think that I would say it's not something that no one knows about, or that's something that has been a secret in any way. I think that everyone has known that I'm very driven. And because I believe in my goals 100%, I would go and there will be no work that will be below me. I would do anything. If I have to film all night long, if I have to film 36 hours straight without stopping, it makes no difference to me. I always was a hardworking person. I always was willing to make all the sacrifices that I needed to make. And I always was able to rely on a really good team. Even though people say you are the epitome of a self-made man, I really have to say that there is really no such thing as a self-made man, because we all rely on help from the outside. Even as a bodybuilder, I had to have my nutritional experts that helped me. I had my training partners that helped me. I had Joe Weider, for instance, that brought me over to America after I won 2 times Mr. Universe, and they gave me the opportunity to come here and to train here with the champions and to help me with the apartment and with the car and all that stuff. So in acting, you have 150 people on a set, from wardrobe experts to makeup experts and hair and stunt coordinating, producing, financing the movie, doing the regie, doing the directing of the movie and all that. So you have all this help. So there is really no such thing as self-made. You may be self-motivated, but even that, my motivation came from people, from idols that I've had, from Clint Eastwood and from Charles Bronson, or in bodybuilding, Reg Park, and so on. So I think there was just the willingness to work hard. And I have been in South Africa, and I remember that I took a tour in the late 60s in a diamond mine, and then later on in a gold mine. And when I went down, thousands of feet below the ground, and I saw these people working there for $1 a day, sweating and suffering, and the dust down there and the dirt, and how unhealthy it was. And I saw that, I said to myself that to me is the standard of hard work. Anything that is better than that, I would never complain about. And so that was always it, So to me, it didn't matter if I got a 40-foot trailer when I did a movie, or if it was a 15-foot trailer. If I had to work 18 hours, if I had to work 8 hours, all of that didn't mean anything. To me, what was important was what was on the screen on the end. What was the end product? How we get there didn't matter. So that's basically was always my philosophy. And, I think anyone that wants to accomplish something has to be willing to do that.
And have a sense of gratefulness around that too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and the other thing I want to say is that America is, without any doubt, the country of opportunity. I think this is the #1 place in the world, even though we have our downsides and things have slowed down a little bit with the progress. And I think that politicians are frozen right now in Washington and have performing pitifully, Democrats and Republicans. But it is still the greatest country in the world. And I think that none of it that I've accomplished in my career would have happened without the United States. I mean, this place really gave me all the opportunities that anyone can ever ask for.
We're going to go to another question from Kate. Kate?
Yes, thanks, Shira. Hey, Arnold.
Hey.
Hi. You were
Hi, Kate.
Hi. You were my first crush, so I'm a very happy camper right now. Nice
Thank you.
Do you keep that next to your bed, that thing in back of you?
I'm never apart from it. Just kidding, that's scary. Anyways, my question for you is, did you like playing a good Terminator or a bad Terminator better, and why?
Well, I would say that in either case, I think all the Terminators had a bad side because they were all into causing damage and in order to get their goals achieved. But I think what you're talking about is obviously the first Terminator, where the first close-up was of me just crushing over children's toys, and it set the stage that this is not a good guy, and he didn't care. And so I think that it was fun to play that character. And the trick really is how do you play that character and play that evil in some ways, but make the character hip and heroic at the same time. So Jim Cameron, who is a brilliant director, obviously, has shot the movie in a certain way that even though I did evil things, that it made the character also heroic. As a matter of fact, so much so that, for instance, there was a scene where I go into a police station and I tear apart the whole police station, which is the famous line when I go and they say, I'm looking for Sarah Connor. He says, well, she is in a room. Beat it, you know, we have no time now for you. And I say, I'll be back. You know, and I look around a little bit. And the next thing I come in is with my truck, you know, mow everyone down at a police station, and then I get out with all my guns and then kill everybody and go after Sarah Connor. So, but the funny thing was when we had the screening here in Hollywood and we had around 100 cops come to the screening, they all were cheering while I was wiping out cops in our police station. So we knew that we had really a great movie in our hands, that I got away with being evil but being heroic at the same time. And it was just a certain way that we acted it out and that Jim Cameron shot it, that it worked. So I really enjoyed that character, I would say, a lot.
That's the beauty of the character. All right, we're going to go to a live question coming in from Veronique Navette. She says, hello, Arnold. Who, if anyone, would you say has played a decisive role in your life when you first arrived in the USA? Thanks a lot.
Well, it was Joe Weider.
Yeah.
Joe Weider brought me over to this country, and he gave me the opportunities, you know, to provide me with an apartment and with a car and to help me out in the beginning, and also expose me to the best gymnasiums, which was Gold's Gym, and to be able to train with the top bodybuilders and powerlifters and athletes. You know, Southern California, or I should say Venice, was the mecca of bodybuilding. And so he brought me here to Venice, and I could train here with the best, and that really was very helpful for me then to win subsequently a lot of the world championship titles and become the bodybuilding champion of all time.
Who helped you in politics?
I think that George Shultz, Secretary George Shultz, helped me a tremendous amount. I think Pete Wilson, the governor in the 90s, was very helpful in encouraging me to run. My wife was extremely helpful because it was helpful to also know what a Democrat thinks about various different policies, because I always wanted to hear both sides, and also what a female thinks about all the various different policies, because I felt always that the Republican Party has lost a lot of the female members because they have kind of turned their back on female issues, such as the environment, educational issues, healthcare issues. And to me, those were actually very important issues. And it was great to see women coming up to me a lot of times and saying, you know, I'm a Democrat, but I voted for you because you were interested in those issues that I'm interested in. And so it, you know, it was good to have someone that is very smart in politics like Maria to advise you and to kick ideas around with. So I think there was a lot of people there in politics, including, I think, George Bush Sr., who was always very inspirational and was always there giving advice. And when I was working as the chairman of the President's Council on Fitness, I spent a lot of time with him at Camp David and in the Oval Office and watching him operate and work. And he really inspired me. And my father-in-law, Sergeant Shriver, who created the Peace Corps, the Job Corps, legal aid to the poor, Head Start, and was also president of Special Olympics. He always encouraged me to get into public service and to take some time out, even though he said you will lose money and you will not make you millions of dollars. I said, but it's great to give something back to your country because you got so much from this country. And so these were all my inspirations, I would say.
So on that note, in doing our research for this, on The Daily Show, you know, Jon Stewart you talked about your institutes, and you're talking about how it's all about the environment and bringing both parties together. And then he asked you, well, what makes you a Republican then? So what does make you a Republican?
Well, I was, when I came to this country, I heard the discussions during the presidential race in 1968, Humphrey and Nixon. And whenever Humphrey talked, I felt like I was back in Austria. And whenever Nixon talked, to me it was like music to my ears. I mean, he talked about, you know, getting rid of the trade barriers. He talked about getting government off your back. He talked about lowering the taxes. He talked about being pro-business. He talked about the strong, powerful military. He talked about pro-law enforcement issues. And he talked about all this, and I said to myself, this is exactly what I'm about. And I felt like this is the philosophy that I want to follow. Only later on, when I got more an understanding of the English language and I got into politics more, I realized that really no party has the lock on anything. You know, I mean, if you take a combination of both policies and really that's why I was such a fanatic always about bringing both of the parties together, because I think if you take the brain power of Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Decline to State, all of them together, you really have.
So you should start a new party.
Brain power. You don't have to start a new party. I think that we have. There's a big tent in the Democratic Party. There's a big tent in the Republican Party. I think that we just have to be tolerant and be able to listen to other people's opinions rather than shutting them out. Right now, the Republican Party has a tendency of shutting sometimes those voices out and just staying too far to the right. But I think that doesn't mean you have to leave the Republican Party. It just means that we have to work very hard at it, to reshape the party and to, again, make it an open party. And the party that Ronald Reagan was the president of, you know, he was the president of the United States as a Republican, but he at the same time created, you know, a CEQA and the EPA, and protected a gay teacher and raised taxes, all of the things that normally the Republican Party hates. And he always fought with the Republican Party, but he never left the party, and I feel the same way about that.
All right, let's go back to the Google Plus Hangover. It's all about hearing from you guys. Let's go to Kevin.
Arnold, how are you, man?
Thank you. I'm holding some schnapps in the hand, Jeff.
I would love to have one with you.
It's a Williams pear. It's really good. Good schnapps from Austria.
Now, you talk a lot in the book about test screenings and how, as an actor, you'd want to go to these screenings and watch it with a real audience to see what, you know, things they say about the film, negative or positive. What film of yours encountered the biggest changes due to a test screening, and what were those changes that were made?
I remember that Twins was a movie that we test screened. First of all, we test screened all movies, but I think that there was some adjustments made that people really enjoyed, kind of like the relationship between Danny and me, so that we changed and added some scenes that were together with me and Danny. And the test scores shot up by 8 points because of just that adjustment. Then there were also some adjustments made on the end of the movie with the ending, where the people felt like there should be more payoff when the villain really gets it, and they didn't want the villain to stay alive. They wanted the villain to die, and so we made sure of that in the movie also. And so there were little tweaks like that that added, 10 points on the end to the movie. And we were one of the very few that made over 90, had over 90% of the people approve of the movie and had a positive reaction. And when you get over 90, your chances of making over $100 million domestically is really high. And we made $120-some million domestically and made another 150 million foreign. So it was really one of the great success stories. And the interesting thing about it was that I did not take one penny salary for this movie, because I felt like that even though at that point I was already getting $10 and $15 million per movie, but I felt like that Universal Studios taking a risk, because this is my first time that they do a comedy, and that I talked to Ivan Reitman. He totally agreed that he shouldn't take a salary. Danny didn't take a salary, and I didn't. We together as a block almost got 40% ownership of the film in return for that. So basically we invested ourselves in a movie. And because of that, because it was so successful, it paid off big time. I think that we all got richer than from that movie than on any other movie. And I think that no studio ever made that deal again, because they gave us so much. I remember the studio head, Tom Pollock, after we made the deal, he turned around and he bent over and he pulled out his pockets, both of his pockets, and he says, "Okay, take all the money and F me." And so it became one of those historic deals.
Now let's go to Rob for another question.
Thank you.
Howdy, Arnold. Pleasure to be here, and I love writing for you. My question has to do with two things. One of which is America, which is awesome, and the other of which is your ESPN 30 for 30 that was on the other night, which is also really awesome. You, in your early days of training, you literally fabricated weights in your bunker, and you found the time to train despite your military obligations. But it seems like some Americans today are having a lot of trouble just getting off the couch. What would you say to motivate them?
Well, I think the important thing is that, first of all, you have to be interested in being in shape and being a champion. I mean, to me, I felt that becoming a world champion in bodybuilding, it was all or nothing. And so therefore there was a totally different mentality. And as this piece from ESPN has shown, and I think they did an extraordinary job in getting that message across, that to me it made no difference when someone said in the military that, look, you're going to crawl around with the weapons, and you're going to go up and down those mountains, and you're going to be in the rain and in the mud, and you're going to be doing this all night, and we're going to go and make you so tired that you cannot even sleep. But I still, in my mind, said to myself, you can never stop me from working out. And sure enough, no matter how much basic training we did, I came back to the military base and I worked out 2-3 hours every day. And the same was also when we went on maneuver with the tank. On my M47 tank, the patent tank that we had, and I was a tank driver, I took the tools out of the side of the tank, out of our toolbox, and I put my barbell plates and my dumbbell plates and the bars in there, and the collapsible bench that I could take apart, and I put that in there. And no matter where we went on maneuver, no matter how far we were out, it made no difference. When they said, okay, it's over, we now go to sleep, it's 11 o'clock at night, I will pull out with my buddies my exercise equipment, and again I will be working out 2 hours a day. So that's the kind of thing that I would do. Even when they told me I cannot leave the military base to go to the European Championships, I would just leave, walk out of that military base, go to Germany with a train, and win the competition, came back with the trophy, even though I went to jail for 2 days. But afterwards they recognized that, wait a minute, this guy's coming back as a winner. I think we should really build him up and sell him. Look what the military has created here, a European champion in bodybuilding. So they decided to take me back out of jail and then to actually hail me for that great determination that I had and so on. So nothing could stop me. So you see, but this determination and this will and this fire only is possible when you have a very clear goal. So the question that you are asking is, how do you make the average person that really is not at all into exercising, make him kind of like getting into it? And I think that the important thing is people have to recognize that you're going to pay dearly later on if you don't exercise. I think you're much better off if you go out there and run every day 3 miles, if you do some bicycling every day, that you do some lifting weights every day. It will make you stronger, it will make you feel better, you will feel more productive, it will help you with your studies, it will help you with your work. Even here at Google, I just walked around, they have a beautiful club here where the people are training and working out. They have a restaurant here where people get healthy foods and so on, because they know that it creates better performance if the people are in shape and if they're healthy. And I think that if you want to do something for your country, then you also will work out, because, it makes me sick and tired when you see this overweight people waddling around and asking government then to take care of them. I think it is unfair to all of us. I think everyone should participate, everyone should take care of themselves, and that alone will bring the healthcare costs down.
I want to know if you're getting back into politics from that.
No, I'm involved in politics because that's why I created the Schwarzenegger Institute at USC. Because, as I made it very clear, that every governor goes in there with a very ambitious list of things that they want to accomplish, and if you get 50% done, you're lucky. I was lucky that I got 50% done, but the other 50%, I want to continue working on those things, on healthcare issues, on environmental issues, on economic issues, on stem cell research, and all the things that California stands for, and the whole idea of regional governments, the power that regional governments have, cities and states and provinces all over the world and so on, that we can make moves, and we have power. We don't have to wait for the national governments or for some international treaty like a Kyoto Treaty #2 or so. We can make the moves, we can take the initiative, and that's what California has done consistently. And that's why California, for instance, is 40% more energy efficient than the rest of the country.
Definitely. We're going to go to another question. We're going to go to Randy.
Hey, Arnold, how's it going?
Terrific, Randy.
First of all, I love the new commando haircut.
Oh, thank you. That's for the movie The Preacher, which I start in October now, on October 20th. I started the movie. It's kind of a police drama. We're going to shoot that in Atlanta, and so I'm getting ready for that. I'm doing a lot of training for that, and combat training, weapons training, weight training,
Is that
martial
harder
arts
now
training.
as you get, older a bit?
It's tougher. Yeah, I think the body does not recuperate as fast. You end up being sore more often after fight scenes, and you have a tendency of getting more injuries. I remember the last movie that I did with Stallone. He came to me one day and he said, "I just pulled my calf. I hate that." He says, "I pulled my calf, my right calf." I pulled. He says, "Be careful when you do this running scene and this climbing scene tomorrow." I say, "Warm up." So, of course, the next morning I go in the warm-up, I pull my calf warming up. I mean, like two idiots. We were getting shots, quarter-zone shots and everything. So, I mean, those are the kind of things that happens when you get to that age. That did not happen at the age of 20. But, something, that's why they always say that it needs, balls to get old.
Yeah. And what was that question, Randy?
Yeah. Can I just say, first of all, the fans, we love your voice, and thank you for reading 2 chapters in this new audio CD version. I'm definitely going to be picking that up. And I do have a question for the fans from the ArnoldFans.com. They ask, have you ever thought about utilizing the world's most recognizable voice for other projects, including commercials, a CG character in the Avengers 2, or a new animated project?
Very good idea. Well, I'm ready. If it is a good project, exactly, that's right. As if I'm not busy enough with all the things that I'm doing. I mean, it's amazing. I just finished around, I would say, 18 months ago with my job, 19 months ago. And since then, I've been doing 4 movies. So I've been really busy in doing endless amount of speeches all over the world, and creating the institute and coming out with this book, writing this book, which took a lot of effort. And one thing I also want to tell you about the book, I despise going back and analyzing my career and all this stuff. I always look forward and not backwards. And so when you do a book, you have to go and analyze everything about your childhood and about your family and about your school and the military service and every little detail you go through your whole life. It is torturous for someone like
therapy.
me. That is, but I mean, I'm not into any of that. I always look to I just love moving forward and going into the unknown rather than looking back of the things that I do know about.
All right, we're going to go to our last question from Tracy in the Google Plus Live Hangout.
Hi, Arnold.
Hi, Tracy.
You were my first R-rated movie with Terminator 2.
How old were you?
I was about 9 years old. I was about 9 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to know, is there any moment in your life that you wish you could go back to and relive?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of moments. And, I can tell you that. But, it's always easy to be smart in hindsight. But it's not going to be very productive to think that way, because the fact of the matter is we can't go back. And so I think the key thing is as I explain in the book, that you learn more from your mistakes than from your victories, that you learn more from your failures than from your victories. And that you learn also how you have to get up quickly, dust yourself off and move on, and don't dwell on those things too long. And I always felt that way about successes, that I didn't want to sit on my laurels and kind of like say, oh my God, isn't it great now I just won a championship, or isn't it great I just had the biggest grossing movie? It's all a waste. I mean, the fun is really in climbing the hill. I mean, any mountain climber would tell you that climbing is where the action is. When you're then on top of the peak, then you say, okay, now I'm up here. Okay, let's get back down again. And the same is with your career. The fun thing is the struggle to overcome the failures and when you fall and all those things, get up again and move forward. But to go back and to try to figure out how would you have corrected it, it's not going to make any sense. What is important is we learn from those mistakes and we don't make those mistakes in the future.
Arnold, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to talk to you today. Really, this has been a highlight.
Well, this has been fun because you have so much energy. What did you take?
This is natural.
60 cans of Red Bull.
This is natural. And thanks to all of you for joining in this Google Plus Live Hangout. Adam, Brandon, Kate, Kevin, Rob, Randy, Tracy, thanks for your questions. Thanks to all of you for watching, sending in your questions in real time. Remember, the autobiography is Total Recall. It is in stores right now. Buy it in real time, live right now, online. Just go in your browser, Google Play. Also, at Schwarzenegger.com. He's at Schwarzenegger on Twitter. And, say it again.
I'll be back.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.